Hey guys, today I'm reviewing the latest FKA Twigs mixtape, which is called Caprisongs. Now, this was an album that I wasn't really excited about, honestly. I'm not a huge fan of FKA Twigs, and seeing her name constantly thrown around on websites like Rate Your Music is kind of tiring, considering I'm already not a fan of her, though I will admit that it's been a while since I've listened to her previous work, so maybe I do need to revisit it, because I have to admit I actually was pretty pleasantly surprised by this record. So first things first, for any returning FKA Twigs fans, is that Caprisongs is easily her least experimental work to date. I mean, when you compare it to the art pop and art R&B of previous studio records like LP1 and Magdalene, which are only two full lengths so far, as well as her EPs that I'm currently forgetting the name of that I don't think I've ever even listened to, this is a very artistically tame release. And you can see that because a lot of people are starting to walk away from FKA Twigs and lose respect for her for some reason because this is a more, I guess you could say, normal record compared to her previous releases, but I honestly don't think it's really a bad thing. If a typically experimental artist does something that is less experimental than was expected of them, it can still be a really great release if it's executed well, and this mixtape is executed incredibly well, and I think that that rule applies here. This is actually a really fantastic record, in my opinion. Now, while this may be a very obvious attempt at more of a mass appeal sound, Caprisongs does stand out in its own way, and this is mainly through the variety of closely related but still different genres throughout it. I mean, it opens with the track Ride the Dragon, which is a personal favorite of mine and maybe my favorite song on the album, and it seemingly makes it obvious that this is going to be an electronic R&B influenced record, kind of slightly similar to her previous full-length studio releases, just in the form of a mixtape instead. But then you have songs later on that just completely change and throw this idea out the window, basically. You've got the album closing Thank You song, which is more straight up art pop slash ambient pop. You've got Jealousy, which is sort of that dance hall, dance reggae sort of sound that is always interesting and fun and playful to hear, even if it's not done well. It is done well here, though. Or even some more almost trap leaning pop rap kind of stuff, like on the track Oh My Love. There's just so many different styles that, while so closely related, stand out from each other enough to make this a consistently very interesting listen that never kind of grows old by just repeating the same exact ideas and concepts, even if it isn't nearly as creative as some of FKA Twigs' previous releases. I do feel like the very concept of reviewing this album is sort of odd, though, because it makes it seem as if this is the sort of mixtape that has to be examined and expected and dissected piece by piece, and that there's multiple layers to it that you have to look at individually to understand the entire concept of the release. It's not. It's really not. This is one of those mixtapes that is meant to be listened to because it's fun. You're not supposed to analyze it really or anything like that. The only reason that I'm doing this, in all honesty, the only reason I wrote a review out and I'm now recording this, is to really just challenge my ability as a critic by reviewing something by an artist that I typically consider myself sort of on the fence about. But this is a really great listen, in all honesty, and it's fun, and that's just what it should be taken as. I mean, I think that most albums should be taken as for what they are. A blues album should be taken for the blues, an experimental jazz album should be taken for experimental jazz, and this should be taken for what it is, which is a good time, generally. FK Twigs sounds vocally lovely as ever on this mixtape, Caprisongs. That's always been the aspect of her music that has most immediately stood out to me, besides her creativity and artisticness, of course. Her natural voice is really beautiful, and the occasional purposeful, exaggerated digital alterations to her voice, they're well placed, and they sort of add to the sonic landscape on tracks like Minds of Men. And honestly, I can't complain about it like I would other artists like The Weeknd and things like that. Things are done well here, and I can't really say that there's any moment that's weak vocally for FK Twigs here. She just has a gorgeous voice, and there's this album is or mixtape is just proof of the fact that she's not going to stop constantly delivering amazing vocal work to the table. There are also a number of other artist features on Caprisongs, which is something I'm always worried about no matter what the genre is. I mean, I just generally fear that a really strong record with a great performer behind it, in this case FKA Twigs, is going to get brought down by other significantly less interesting or even talented artists. And in some cases, I am right. I mean, the track Honda sees the appearance of Pa Selu, who is just not that interesting of a performer, at least on this song. To be honest, I'm kind of unfamiliar with most of his work, but his appearance on that track really doesn't make me want to check him out all that much. Beyond that, you've also got Shy Girl and The Weeknd, who show up to do Poppy Bones and also Tears in the Club, respectively, and they do pretty well, all things considered. It does feel weird that I just made fun of The Weeknd by saying that I don't really like his voice, and now I'm complimenting him for being on a track on this album, but nonetheless, he does pretty well on Tears in the Club. In my opinion, the best features on this mixtape are either Daniel Caesar on Careless or Georgia Smith and Unknown T on the track Darjeeling. Especially Unknown T on that track, he really actually kind of goes off in all honesty. And I do think that FKA Twigs is just best off on her own, and I think that shows in tracks like Minds of Man, and like I said earlier, Ride the Dragon is one of my personal favorite tracks off this mixtape. But I would be lying if I said that the features here were bad. It's just that there are a couple mediocre ones, a couple that are pretty decent, and a couple really strong ones as well. Am I happy about the fact that over half this track list, if you take out the interludes, is consisting of features? No. I wish that maybe only a couple here had features. But it's not like it really drags down the mixtape or anything, it's just a slight alteration, tweak that I would make. But really, the features here are solid overall. So overall, for me at least, Caprisongs was a very pleasant surprise. I mean, FKA Twigs' music was sort of a gray area for me before listening to this mixtape, but I have to say this is just an incredibly enjoyable listen. It's produced well, it's performed well, it's filled with a variety of sounds and styles that make it worth listening to in the first place. And in all honesty, this is just it's a fun listen. So if you're someone that's just looking for a good time musically, I'd say listen to this. And if you're someone who is a fan of her previous works and wants something experimental, I'd say try this anyway, honestly. I do think it's an infectiously enjoyable album, even if it's not typically your style. So, with that being said, I'll say this is 4 stars out of 5. This is a really great mixtape, and I'm glad that I gave it a chance and actually listened to it instead of ignoring it like I originally had planned. And with that being said, that is the end of this review, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.